You're right. It wasn't on. Thank you. Don't want to teach in the coaching voice. It doesn't work too well with the live stream for all the 0 listeners. My resources I usually use, I got the Blue Letter Bible, Bible Gateway. I didn't use Blue Letter Bible today, but sometimes I dip in and out. I like studylight.org, and they got a wealth of commentaries, dictionaries, whatever. I usually use Kaufman's commentary. It's Church of Christ, Barnes' Notes. I don't know what Barnes is. See, Presbyterian, Baptist, it's old. He's got a wealth of information on the words and the phrases and even the habits of people. And Kaufman uses him a lot himself. Gospel Broadcast Network, they got an outline commentary by Bob Winton. They got several books by him too. So I dip in and out and try to figure out as I compare them all, weigh them, and sometimes you go with what makes sense. Yeah, Clark's got some stuff. Johnson's notes. I haven't used Johnson in a while. So those are different ones. Some of the things, there's like some of the wording and stuff, it's like, what's that really mean? And Kaufman won't touch it. Somebody else won't touch it. And it's like you got to find somebody who's touching it. It just sticks out too much.
Comment on verse 4.
Right. The one-on-one. Clark's, the full unabridged, he'll go 3 pages on verse 3 and 3 pages on verse 5 and then skip verse 4.
That's wordy.
He's a wordy guy. So, anyways, that's my references. And Chuck's notes, because I've got leftover from him. So we got a little bit of each. So we'll move on. We're going to finish up 51 and move into 52. Israel. Does that really say Israel? It's supposed to be Isaiah. Isaiah 51, verse 17 through 20. Rouse yourself. Arise, O Jerusalem, you who have drunk from the Lord's hand the cup of his anger, the chalice of reeling, a bowl or the cup of reeling. You have drained to the dregs. There is none to guide her among all the sons she has borne, nor is there one to take her by the hand among all the sons she has reared. These 2 things have befallen you. Who will mourn for you? The devastation and destruction, famine and sword. How shall I comfort you? Your sons have fainted. They lie helpless at the head of every street like an antelope in a net, full of the wrath of the Lord, the rebuke of your God. We'll pick this thing apart. So, basically this thing starts out with morning sunshine. Who's being woke up? Rouse yourself. Awake, awake, some versions say. Who's being woke up? People on the orange pews.
This is kind of the shift in Isaiah, not Israel. And what he's saying, okay, it's time for your redemption. And he's talking to those that are in Babylonian captivity and that got taken into Syria too, if they're still faithful. So he says, now's the time. Okay? You've drank the cup of wrath. Everything because of what you did, now it's going to change.
This is the changing point.
You're at where you're at because of what you do. Now it's time to change. Exactly. That's who's being woke up. God's people. And I'm assuming it's really the spiritual Israel, the faithful, but at the same time, the other ones, the message is still there. The message has been there. I think they say this is the 4th call. Earlier calls had 1, 2, and 3, obviously, and they were not to wake up the redemption is coming. So this may have been, even them, that much could be for. So who's waking them up? It's got to be God, right? God the Father is who's waking up Israel. Why were they asleep? You who have drunk from the Lord's hand the cup of his anger, the chalice of reeling, you have drained to the dregs. Why were they asleep? I thought I'd step through the question you had from last week. Yeah.
Babylonian captivity, it's gotten rid of more than a generation.
It has. In 7 years, it's gotten rid of more than a generation. It's gotten rid of the,
It should have gotten rid of all the problems, but the problem is there was nobody to pick it up. We'll see that. There's nobody to pick up after that. They're asleep, because like that, so they've drunk from the Lord's hand the cup of his anger. So they're spiritually drunk. That is why they're spiritually asleep. What were they drunk on? God's anger. He dished it out to them for the 70 years of captivity in Babylon, but he dished it out to them before that too. That's all they've had to drink, and they're drunk on that. It says they've drunk it clear to the dregs. Anybody a coffee drinker? Clive is. Huh? What's the dregs taste like? That's where the grounds are, right? You get the grounds and you get a mouthful of that stuff. Tea drinkers the same way. You get those tea leaves. There we go. I get some faces that people knew what that tastes like. The dregs of anything. Juice is that way. Some good juice. You'll find that you got the pulp and stuff in the bottom. But yeah, they've drank even that. Where do you think this puts us on the timeline of God's people? And I asked them these questions because I thought Grant and Jamie and Grant's girlfriend Ada were going to be in here, so I thought I would catch them up too. But so where do you think this puts us on God's timeline? But I think Chuck really said it's time to get out of captivity. Yeah, exactly. It's the beginning of the Mede-Persian Empire, or what this is saying. Wake up, because this is what's going to happen. Whether it's that's where it puts them. The captivity is. It's time to be over. It's time to stop being drunk. It's time to stop being pushed away from God. It's time to get away from God's anger. It's time to wake up and get with it. It says, there is none to guide her among all the sons she has borne, nor is there one to take her by the hand among all the sons she has reared. Why are there none to guide her? Where are her sons? Where are the sons of Israel? Where are the sons of God's people? Yeah. They're stuck in Babylon, they're stuck in paganism. I mean, if you consider a generation to be 20 years, and if you will go to 30 years at this point, they've been in captivity in Babylon for 70 years. So it's at least 2 generations, probably 3 generations. So where are the sons? Where are the faithful? Where are the ones that remember Israel? Where are the ones that remember what the worship of God was, even though it got to the point where they didn't want to listen to God? If people don't want to listen to God, their kids won't listen to God, and their grandkids won't listen to God, and there's nobody to guide them, so there's nobody to pick up the slack later. I mean, the church works on the next generation picking it up. It's been 2,000 years since Christ died. He's not the one that's here every day. The apostles are not here every day. The word has got to us. We've picked up the pieces, and it's our job to disciple the next generation and stuff to continue that work. And, the truth is, whether it's here or elsewhere, I come to that realization of having kids who've not been home for several years, partially. Their job is wherever they land to do that work. So, but this is it. They didn't breed that. Their society, the captivity, their lack of God did not breed anybody to bring them closer to God. Does that sound good? Doesn't sound good. Does that make sense? These 2 things have befallen you. Who will mourn for you? The devastation and the destruction, famine and sword. How shall I comfort you? Your sons have fainted. They lie helpless at the head of every street, like an antelope in a net, full of the wrath of God, the rebuke of your God. What did the cup of God's anger bring to Jerusalem or Judah or Israel or all, however you want to look at it? I mean, it's got to this point that's it happened in waves, but what did the cup of God's anger bring to them in verse 19? That is the cruelty of the world, and it's obviously God's hand, but He uses the world to bring that about. devastation, destruction, famine, and sword. Nobody probably asks for that in their prayers. Please bring devastation upon me. Definitely not. You know, those are. If you had to pick one, you wouldn't. You know, let alone four. So why do you think the text says two things? Verse 19. These two things have befallen you. It says two, but it lists four: devastation, destruction, famine, and sword. Why do you think that is? Okay. You drunk the cup and then everything's destroyed as being the two.
That was just how my mind interpreted it.
That's a fair way of interpreting it. So, Clive?
Yes, I agree. It's kind of the desolation and destruction of the people.
Desolation, destruction of people. Some of the notes,
They go into stuff that doesn't make sense, and then you kind of have to try to look at it. But anyways, they tend to put famine and devastation together, and destruction and the sword together. So you got two phrases, but the first words of those two phrases kind of goes together, and the last words go together. Either way, it's still the same thing. Like you say, you've done this to yourself, and this is what's happened, this combination of events. I don't think those words are definitely separate from each other, east, north, east, west, and south type thing. But have gone together to do the job, to dish out the whole cup of anger. The full wrath of God is really what it is. It's left God's people faint and helpless in verse 20. The words in this verse say like an antelope in a net. Anybody ever run across that in their daily life? Seeing an antelope just struggling in a net? Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom used to have that kind of stuff on there. But, you know, it's a phrase that's kind of lost on us, but it would be probably more so for them. So I think sometimes the antelope it says bull. But you've seen animals struggle in that. I like the other words for that. Septuagint says like a parboiled beet. And Chaldee Targum says as broken bottles, which they're kind of strangely different, but kind of the same thing. They fainted, they're helpless, they can't help themselves. So parboiled beet. If you took just like a sweet potato or something, and you cook it, can it help itself? Does it struggle? I mean, it's just kind of where you're at. It's just, and the broken bottles, it kind of goes with the fact that they're drunken and they're at the head of every street. I'm thinking the day after Mardi Gras in New Orleans is kind of the picture that I get, and the people are just kind of laying around everywhere. That's, you know, it's symbolic, but that's where they're at. They're helpless and limp. Verse 21, therefore, please hear this, you afflicted, who are drunk, but not with wine. Thus says your Lord, the Lord, even your God, who contends for his people. Behold, I have taken out of your hand the cup of reeling, the chalice of my anger. You will never drink it again. I will put it into the hand of your tormentors, who have said to you, lie down that we may walk over you. You have even made your back like the ground and like the street for those who walk over it. So we already said people who are afflicted and they're drunk with God's anger. That's what they're drunk on. What does it mean that God has taken away his anger? Verse 22 says God will take it away and they'll never drink it again. Is that forever? So God's anger, he's going to take that away. We're talking about the end of captivity. He was mad at them. He put them in timeout. It's over. So he's taking that anger away from them, and he's ready to start over. It says, you know, they'll never drink of it again. They'll never drink of God's anger again. They still deal with it in little pieces, but they don't go back into captivity, really. It's just, yeah. Yeah, they're not God's people by 70 AD. The kingdom has changed. There's your release. There's your way out. He has to. Yeah, the promise has been fulfilled. Yeah, exactly. How does God turn his anger to their tormentors? Verse 23, I will put into the hand of your tormentors who have said to you, lie down and we may walk over you. How does he turn it on them? God has used them to Cyrus and Darius, yeah. God has used the Babylonians for his will to put out punishment on his people. It's done. And like I said, the Medes and Persians are coming in, and it's their time to suffer. You know, the Medes and Persians will make the Babylonians suffer. And the Assyrians. I guess they're kind of out of the picture by then anyways, or just, they're out of the picture entirely, I guess. Okay. But they're just, you know, and that's how it is. He uses them, and then they're gone. So, chapter 52, cheer for prostrate Zion. Awake, awake, clothe yourself in your strength, O Zion. Clothe yourself in your beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. For the uncircumcised and the unclean will no longer come into you. Shake yourself from the dust. Rise up, O captive Jerusalem. Loose yourself from the chains around your neck, O captive daughter of Zion. So what are the people to awake to? Or what are they awakened from? Yeah, same thing as what we saw in the last chapter. Awake from the captivity. Awake from the punishment. It's time to get going. What are the people to do as part of their awakening? You know, there's parallels in this story, and some of the commentaries put the parallels. But so, what are the people? I would say, in the context, as we just talked about leaving Babylonian captivity, you're going to continue that theme. So, what are they going to do? They're supposed to loose themselves from the chains, clothe yourself in beautiful garments. I'm going to say that is not physical, but a spiritual type thing. It's clothe yourself in God. Is really what it is. What promise is made to the holy city, Jerusalem? Verse 1. For the uncircumcised and the unclean will no longer come into you. What do you think that means? Do I have that? Yeah. Who do you think the uncircumcised and the unclean are that will no longer come into Jerusalem? I would say so. The people who were persecuting them, the nations, as it was, the captors, the ones God used to take over. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they continue to try to persecute them, but it doesn't work. At the same time, you know, no longer, you know, eventually the Greeks come in. Alexander the Great, he comes in. The Romans come in. They've got, the uncircumcised come in, and they are there. They do leave them in place, you're right. And that's a good way to look at it. They leave them in place to let them basically do their thing. They don't take them into slaves. They don't take them into captivity. One parallel way to look at that is who's going back to Jerusalem? Who is going back out of Babylon, back to rebuild Jerusalem? Who's going? The remnant. Are they the faithful remnant, or are they just people, or is it the spiritual Israel, or is it the physical Israel? Let me put it that way: the physical Jacob or the spiritual Israel. I would say they're the ones, and some of the stuff alludes to that. Although they're uncircumcised, they haven't done that in 70 years. They're unclean in some aspect, but it's the people who are seeking God is who He sends back. It softens their heart. So I can see it that way as a parallel. The other parallel, and I don't know if it's parallel or just foreshadowing, but if you look at foreshadowing, you can also look at this foreshadowing the church, which will be 400 years later, 500 years later, 700 years later, so 700 years later, 700, 800. You can see this as a foreshadowing of the church. The church, we clothe ourselves, out of the world, out of the captivity of sin. We clothe ourselves in God. We clothe ourselves in the beautiful garments of His. We clothe ourselves in Christ. And Jerusalem's not a physical city, but the spiritual, the kingdom of God, the church in general. The uncircumcised and unclean will no longer come into you. The Christian is circumcised, cleaned, circumcised of the heart. We're cleaned of sin. So this is a parallel or a foreshadowing. You loose yourself from chains, shake the dust off you. You're coming out of the world. So you can see a foreshadowing of the church in the same wording if you look at it just as that. I think by the context I'm going to tell you, this definitely applies to leaving captivity and going back home. But foreshadowing looks at the church too. Verses 3 through 6. For thus says the Lord, you were sold for nothing, and you will be redeemed without money. What did it cost the Assyrians and the Babylonians to take Israel, Judah, Jerusalem into their captivity? What did it cost them? Are slaves free? Yeah, well, it cost Israel freedom to go up. But the Assyrians got them they didn't buy them. They just picked them up. They didn't pay anything for them. There's no bill of sale. There's no receipt. They just picked them up. So what does God expect to pay to get His people back? Because God let them have His people. It was God's plan. God let them have His people for no cost. What do you think God's going to pay to get His people back? Same thing, right? You didn't pay me to take them. I'm paying you to get them back. So redeemed without money. For thus says the Lord God, my people went down at the first into Israel to reside there. Has there ever been a precedent of God redeeming His people from captivity in a similar manner? They didn't pay for the slaves, and God ain't paying to get them back. You've got a clue there. Went down first into Egypt to reside there. Why did Joseph go to Egypt? You're right on that. He had rotten brothers. He went in there the hard way. But the people came in, his brothers and stuff came in because of the famine. They went there for a short time. That was really the key. They went to avoid the famine. But then it became slaves there. And God came and got them. After 400, He remembered them. I'd like God to remember me a little bit faster than that. But yeah, He remembered. But He took them out for free. He didn't pay for them. He just taken my people home. And this phrase kind of reminds them. They know God came for His slaves. He came for His people in Egypt, and He took them home. This sets a precedent. God has, and He can. Now, therefore, what do I have here? declares the Lord, seeing that my people have been taken away without cause. Again, the Lord declares, those who rule over them howl, and my name is constantly blasphemed all day long. Therefore, my people shall know my name. Therefore, in that day, I am the one who is speaking. Here I am. Why does God want and need his people back? There's two parts to that. What are they subjected to under that control, under the control of the Babylonians? It lists some things that they see and hear every day. How do the Babylonians treat God's name? They blaspheme. Yeah, if I took you out of God's hand, your God's nothing. That's exactly how they looked at it. So God disappears, and he's not only just disappears when they blaspheme. They talk about him. Your God's not a God. It's the way we look at the idols. Your God's just an idol. He can't do anything. He's powerless to keep you. He's powerless to come get you. So he's blasphemed in that way all day long. It says they howl. The Babylonians that rule over them howl. Anybody want to howl? Do you hear normal people howl? Sometimes, right? When do you hear them howl? A lot of pain, a lot of hatred, right? Chuck, you've been in a Gators game. You hear people there howl at the referees, at the coach. What? What, could that happen? Yes. People howl, and that's, and this is, they're mad. And they, I guess that's really what they're doing. They don't know God, and they howl even at the mention of him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, laughing so hard as they're howling. I know it's in English, but dog and God are backwards from each other. I could almost see somebody like that making that kind of joke in English, but it won't work in Hebrew or Babylonian or whatever, Akkadian. Yeah, they're howling with laughter. It's God's joke. So why does he need them back? They've been through this. He can't have his people subjected to that, because the more they hear it, the more it becomes true. That's how advertising works. The more you hear it, the more it's true. Tell a lie every day, it becomes true. How do you establish new habit? I like to lift weights. I like to jog. I like to give up eating what I like, right? You tell yourself that long enough, you may actually believe that. But that's kind of what this is. Get them to believe it. But he needs his people to know his name. He needs them to know it's him who speaks through the prophets. It's him who is the I am. He needs his people back, and he also has a promise. And that's really the thing. He has to have them back for the promise. It doesn't do much good if they don't know his name, though. But yeah, but he has to have them back for the promise. Promise was made to Abraham. Promise was made to Satan. That promise is there. He has to have his people back. Therefore, my people shall know my name. Therefore, in that day, I am the one who is speaking. Here I am. What is that day? If you take a guess, you're probably right. That's one of them. I would say the Sunday that Christ was resurrected, and sin and death. Yeah. All mankind begins to be blessed with the with the resurrection of Christ, the defeat of death. Yeah, that completes that. And it's God who does it, It wasn't a body that was stolen. Here I am. In context with everything else here, it's the day he comes to get them out of captivity. The day Cyrus says, go home. You know, in context with everything else, that would be that day. Cyrus is known as a redeemer for the people. It's also it could be the day when he came. You know, as Christ comes, it's here I am. More so like when Christ tells them, I have all authority. You know, he's at that point, he's king, even though he's still alive. He's king at that point. Judgment Day is another time when he says, here I am, and they need to know. Ain't nobody else can be speaking, I'll guarantee that, but yeah, they need to know. So, I mean, there's multiple answers. I think in the short term, to go with the context, it's the day Cyrus issues his decree, and they need to know that it's God who does that. Parallel to it, it's definitely Christ. It's definitely the church. You see that with the here I am. You see that with the redeemed without money. We're redeemed with the death of his son. We're taken out of captivity. The world likes to keep God's name, Christ's name blasphemed, and they like to keep it down low, trash on it all they want, and laugh about it. But the people, the church, needs to know. So there's your foreshadow. Verse 7, how lovely on the mountains are the feet of him who brings good news, who announces peace and brings good news of happiness, who announces salvation and says to Zion, your God reigns. So who is the Lord through Isaiah referring to in this passage, and what are the clues that indicate who it is? Whose feet brings good news? Who announces peace? Who brings good news of happiness? Who announces salvation? And says to Zion, your God reigns. Short answer? That's a long answer. That's definitely the parallel. Even that's the parallel answer. If you look at this, what we've looked at as the church, it's definitely Christ. Who else brings the good news? Who, you know, it's him who brings it. It's him who says, you know, I have all authority. I'm who reigns. You can also say a little bit of John the Baptist in this. Who brings the good news? John makes way for Christ. He announces the peace is coming. You can see a little bit of that in there too. Yeah, a little bit of Ezra. Yeah, because they go back and they hear it basically anew. It's all brand new. It's written. It wasn't like it was live like it was the first time, but it's written. And Cyrus, to stick with the context, Cyrus. He brings the good news of they're going home. He brings peace. They're no longer in captivity. Happiness, salvation, and it's your God that did this. So in the short term, it's Cyrus. In the long term, you can't miss Christ in that. Romans 10, 14 through 15, Paul uses the same verse. How then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? How are they believe in him who they have not heard? How are they to hear without someone preaching? How are they to preach unless they're sent? As it's written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the good news. So Paul uses this for each of us that is part of the evangelism, to teaching the good news and sharing that. So he uses the same thing. So verse 8, listen, your watchmen lift up their voices. They shout joyfully together. They will see with their own eyes when the Lord restores Zion. Break forth, shout joyfully together, you waste places of Jerusalem, for the Lord has comforted his people. He has redeemed Jerusalem, and the Lord has bared his holy arm in the sight of all nations, that all the ends of the earth may see the salvation of our God. Why will the liftmen watch their voices? Why will the watchmen lift up their voices? And what have they been watching for? Go ahead, Jeff. In the long term, it's definitely redemption. That's some of the thing that that you see in the Nathaniel, I think it is, that tells, I forget which, one of the apostles tells his brother, we have found the Christ we're looking for. Andrew. Okay. Yeah, Andrew tells Peter, we've found the Christ that we're looking for. This day of Pentecost, that's what the sermon is. You know, we've been looking for Christ for a long, long time, and he came, and he killed him. But it's there. We've been looking. They're the watchmen. And you're right. They've been looking for the salvation, and they will rejoice. At the same time, they're looking to get out of captivity. Short, long, figure it out. What will the nations witness? In the long term, the church, we're in the world. The nations see it. The Gentiles, you know, as it changes, the Gentiles come to the church. And that's what they witness and see. In the context of that thing, when we're looking at leaving captivity, the nations are part of the rebuilding. They supply money, people, goods. They let the captives go, and they see it. It happens right before their eyes. Verse 11 and 12, depart, go out from there. Touch nothing unclean. Go out of the midst of her. Purify yourselves, you who carry the vessel of the Lord. But you will not go out in haste, nor will you go as fugitives, for the Lord will go before you, and the God of Israel will be your rear guard. So where did the Jews go out of? They go out of captivity from Babylon and going back home. No, they're with God's safety, with his security behind it. Yeah, lots of money. God's with them this whole way. They're going to go back and try to rebuild. It takes them a generation really to get going. But that's when they're going to go. And again, the reason they're going is to keep that promise alive. To keep that promise alive, that you got the people that Christ can be born of the bloodline. And that's where it's going with that. Verse 13 is yours. There's 3 verses, I think, left in the 13, 14, and 15. The commentaries say they really belong with the next chapter anyways. Okay. Well, start with the last 3 verses of 52 because they lead into it. They don't really go with what we just looked at, whether you want to look at it as captivity or the church. Good. We may have 2 weeks of it. I don't know, I will say in 2 weeks, I don't know if I'll be here on Sunday or not. I'll know better. I got to take Jamie back to college. So I'm not really 100% sure what my schedule is for that. So I'll let you know. I'll let you know as I find out. So I should be gone. All right. Thank you all.